Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is an Inset double Z fold card. I've used the Forever Blossoms bundle and the Parisian Blossoms Specialty Designer Series paper pack, which has champagne foiling running through it. Now, when closed, this card is quite dimensional because of the dimension inside, so I had to create a coordinating box. And this is my standard box to hold a 6-inch square card, but a dimensional 6-inch square card. And I'll leave a link to the video showing you how to create it at the top right of the screen. Today we're just going to make the card, so let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you are interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. Normally, if you wanted a 6-inch square card base, you would cut a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock in half and score it at 6 inches. But more often than not these days, I make my own, and I use our standard size card and cut 2 pieces of cardstock, one 6 inches by 6 inches, which is the back panel, and the other 6.5 inches by 6 inches, and that's the front panel. So you don't have to have 12-inch by 12-inch cardstock to create your card base. Now when you join them together, I've also found that the join doesn't really show, so this is the way I tend to do it most days now. Now you want to place your cardstock in your scoreboard with the longest side across the top and score down at 3 inches and 6 inches. And this is regardless of whether you're using 6-inch by 12-inch card or 6 by 6.5. You also want to score the petal pink piece, and this measures 10 inches by 4 inches. So score down at 2 inches and 5 inches. If you've used 2 pieces to create your card base, you want to now join them together. Now I'm just going to notch either end of that 1/2 inch tab on the 6.5 by 6 inch piece. I'm now going to add glue to that 1/2 inch tab, and then I can position the back panel on top of it, gluing them both together. I can then fold on that join and burnish it, and then also fold and burnish on the 3-inch score line, and this just folds back on itself. And you want to do the same thing for the petal pink layer, so fold it in half and burnish it, and then fold the front piece back on itself and burnish. You would have seen on the measurement screen at the start of this video that you need 3 pieces of champagne foil and 3 pieces of designer series paper for the panels on your card base. These can now be layered together. And then you can add the 3 panels to your card base. This Parisian Blossoms Designer Series paper is a specialty paper pack, and it has beautiful champagne foiling on most of the sheets. You also need 6 further mats for your petal pink layer, 3 in champagne foil, 2 in whisper white, and a small piece of designer series paper, and this design is the reverse of the previous one I used. Now the largest white mat I've embossed using the Parisian Flourish 3D embossing folder. And I was very careful when I did this. I made sure I centered the pattern on my mat. Then you need a smaller piece of whisper white for your message panel. So I've gone ahead and layered these together. I'm going to add the petal pink layer to my card base before I decorate it. Now, when it's fixed in position, you should have an even border of 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters all the way round. The longer panel goes on the left hand side, and you want to mark the position for the glue on the back of this panel. Now, the easiest way to do this is to just fold the card, fold that short piece back, and then draw a line down by that fold line, and that will show you where to put the glue. It will mirror the opposite end, so it will be a 2-inch section. I'll be gluing the small section on the right hand side first of all. Now when it's in position, the centre fold of that piece will go up against the edge of the card base, and you'll have the inch at the top and the inch at the bottom. So make sure that little section is folded back so you know where to add your glue, and then add your glue. Don't take it right up to the fold line, just take it close to it. And then fold it back into its original position. Hold it in place. Position that centre fold on the edge of the card, making sure that you've got an inch above and below, and then press it into place. When gluing the opposite end, open it out fully so you can see that pencil line you drew earlier, and add your glue to that section. Again, don't take it right up to the pencil line, leave a small gap, and then close your card base, how it will fold, and then close your petal pink layer on top of it, and you should find that you've got that inch gap all the way round. I can now add the 3 panels onto the petal pink layer. This is the Forever Blossom stamp set that I'm using, and I'm using all the images today as well as the love sentiment. I've stamped everything today using grey granite ink. Now you want to stamp 2 of the larger floral images. The first one, I'm only going to use the flowers. These are going to be layered onto the other image, and I'll show you how I coloured these in a little while. You also want to stamp 4 of the single flowers, 4 of the single leaves, 2 of the double leaves, 3 buds, and then the sentiment. I've die cut the sentiment using the smallest of the Stitched So Sweetly dies. I'll be using the coordinating cherry blossoms dies to cut everything out, with the exception of the flowers on the left on the main floral image. These will be hand cut. I'm going to colour using the Stampin' Blends alcohol markers, and I'm starting with the leaf, and I'm just covering that in a light coat of soft sea foam. Then I'm going to switch to the dark and just go over the veins in the leaves. And that's all I did for all of them. Now for the flowers and the buds, I started with dark Pool Party, and I added some dark at the top and the bottom of all the petals. Then I used the light Pool Party to blend this out all over the petals. And I'm doing exactly the same thing now for the flower. So I've done my dark, then I'm switching to the light to blend each of the petals out. And that just leaves a little sort of highlight area in the middle of each petal. And then once dry, I go over again with my dark, And just where the shading lines are on the image itself, I'm just going over these. I'm not going to blend them out, I'm just going to leave them as is. And then just to finish off, I'm using the dark Mango Melody marker for the centre of the flower. For my sentiment, I'm going to glue this onto some champagne foil, and then I'm just going to cut around it, leaving a narrow border all the way round. I've gone ahead and added lots of dimensionals to the back of my main floral piece and also the sentiment. Now I'm going to shape the flowers and the leaves. Now all the little buds are shaped upside down. You want to use an embossing tool or a ball tool and use a circular motion, applying pressure to the back of all the buds, and this will shape them into little domes. And then once I've done them all, I'm going to add a mini dimensional onto the back of each one, and this will keep those raised areas that we've created raised. It's a similar method for shaping the flowers, but this time you shape them right side up because you want them to curl upwards. So I'm just using the ball tool and applying pressure in a circular motion to the individual petals to get them to curl up slightly. I'm going to do the leaves a little bit different. With these, I just want the centre of them to curve upwards, and then I want the stems or the stalks and the tips to curl downwards. So you can either shape them over your finger like I'm doing here, or you can use a bone folder, which is what I'll do for the double leaves. And I'm again adding a mini dimensional to that raised area on the back so they stay raised. I can now go ahead and add all the hand cut flowers and buds to my main image. So all the buds already have dimensionals on them, I just need to remove the backs and put them into position. And then all the flowers will just be added with a little wet glue. I can now add everything to the panels. I'm going to start with the center panel, which is where you'll write your message, and I'm going to add one of the single flowers just with a little wet glue. Then I'm going to add two of the single leaves, and I'm adding wet glue to the tip of the leaf and also the stalk. This way it will keep its dimension. And then finally for this panel I'm adding one of the buds, and again I'm adding a little wet glue to the stalk. For the right hand panel I'm going to add two of the double leaves, and again I'm adding wet glue to the stalks and the tips of the leaves. I'm also going to add three of the flowers, and my centre flower has already had a dimensional added to the reverse. Then I'm going to add two single leaves around that centre flower, and finally two of the buds. And then finally I can add the main floral piece. And then my sentiment. And as a finishing touch, I'm just going to add a few of our champagne rhinestones to the front of the card. And that's it, we're all done. It really is such a pretty card. These papers are gorgeous. Now, if you don't want such a dimensional card, just stick your decorative elements down flat. But of course, I had to make a coordinating box for this one as well. And don't forget, if you're interested in creating a box for your card, there's a link in the top right of the screen. And here's another look at my original card. So I've just reversed the colours on all the stamping. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.